We are going to call to order the May 2021 meeting of the Sycamore Township Zoning Commission. My name is Roger Friedman, the chairman. And Mr. Meese, if you would take the roll call.
Be happy to. Ms. Flanagan?
Here.
Mr. Friedman?
Present.
Mr. Swanson? Mr. Roos?
Present.
And I am here, and I note that Mr. Swanson and Mr. Barrick are not.
I think Mr. Barrick sent in a note earlier today that he was traveling and was not going to be back in time.
Correct.
Okay. We do have a quorum, however, so we can continue. As we have in the past several months, I would entertain a motion to authorize the use of electronic signatures on any documents that need to be signed.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Meese. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is approved. The next item on the agenda was the approval of minutes from the December 14th, 2020 and the April 12th, 2021 meeting minutes. I know that Rich had a couple of corrections for the April 12th meeting. I think, and you had a couple too as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think Jessica sent a message through to everyone that some were legitimate and some were mistaken. So
right. Yeah, and because I don't know if Bill has if Rich has any objection to those further corrections, it might be a good idea if we simply put the meeting minutes over to the next meeting in the event that Rich has anything else to add to the corrections that he had in there.
If I may, sir, I did speak to our court reporter, LaCartha, regarding the 14th, and she's working on those edits, so we should be able to knock out both of those at the next meeting.
Okay. And I see that Mr. Swanson just joined us. Welcome aboard, Bill.
Thank you. I had trouble finding the link today.
Yeah, so did I, but we're all here now. So
Excellent.
Anyway, so Bill, I don't know if you just heard that last part, but we're going to put over the approval of the meeting minutes from December and from April until the next meeting. Rich had a couple of more suggested changes, and I think Skylar just indicated that the court reporter may have some other changes to make as well. So
Okay.
We'll put those over to the next meeting. With that said, moving on to new business, I think the only case we have tonight is case 2021-05 LASR. The applicant is Sheila Mangrum for property at 8044 Montgomery Road, and the request is for a local alternative sign location. Mr. Miller, if you would give us an update on this.
Yes, sir. Okay. Can everybody see the screen share?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's 16 slides, but I'm going to try and do this quickly. So bear with me. This is case 2021-05 LASR laser, as I've been calling them. Applicant Sheila Mangrum. Again, this is laser is a localized alternative sign regulation. This is for 8044 Montgomery Road, also known as the Kenwood Towers. This is a longstanding office building in Sycamore Township. I believe it was developed in the mid 80s, and it does have quite a bit of a history to go along with it that we'll get into. But it is zone 00, which is our not planned retail but planned office within the SPI overlay district. To the north is retail office and planned office. To the south is another 00 development and some B single family residential. To the east, the city of Madeira, which is also there's a small multifamily development. And then kind of behind that is the football field for Madeira schools. And then to the west, we have more retail and planned office. So in brief, the applicant is requesting this laser approval for additional signage on the building to include 500 square feet of additional signage for future tenants in 5 different locations. The proposed plan specifies replacement and increase in the existing monument sign, as well as another monument sign along Hallsbrook Road. Okay, just flipping over here to an aerial photo of the site. As you can see, this is the main building here, Kimberly Towers. We have an entrance off of Montgomery Road here. I believe this is the Sifty Klein Realty office, and we have a multi-unit retail building here and restaurant. This is Hallsbrook Road. Again, this is City of Madeira on this side with the multifamily and this little access way here to Montgomery schools. This is part of the applicant's submittal, just showing the office building. This is a little more of an oblique aerial photo of the building. You can see in this picture, it's kind of grainy, but we have the existing Chase sign here center on this top cap of the building. We have a JP Morgan sign on the entrance on the kind of the far east side of the building. And then it's kind of oblique in this, but there's a UBS sign here. Should be noted in a prior case, there's actually a clear channel sign on this, I guess the west side facing building. That is still approved, and there is technically there is a sign that could go right here, but there's none currently there. Okay. This is a little bit better angle. What we're looking at the existing conditions on the site. Again, the JP Morgan sign above the entrance, Chase, and UBS. The applicant's submittal has a couple different square footage calculations for the existing signage. I've kind of done my best to, without being overly critical. I'm also estimating what the current signage is. The 2 sizes for the UBS sign have been shown to be 56 square feet and then also 64.65 feet. The Chase sign, I think there was some confusion there. I think that was noted as being 56 in one part of the application. But there is there's a prior case that shows that the Chase sign is actually 116 square feet. And then we have the JP Morgan sign, which is between 12.5 square feet and I believe 16 square feet. Applicant also gives a kind of a linear frontage calculation for the building, with this equaling, I believe, 509 square feet of frontage. I'm not adding this additional cap calculation. I'm just looking at the linear frontage with this angle here. Okay. All right. So these are the future sign locations on the building that the applicant is proposing. They would like to have 100 square feet at each one of these locations. So if we were to break this building up as has been done in the past, with kind of this being the dividing line for the east tower and this being the west tower, we're looking at 2 additional signs on the east tower and 3 on this west tower, with one of those future signs in the old clear channel location that's approved. Okay. Additionally, on the building, there would be there would be a canopy sign that would just show the street address for the building. And then they do show some wayfinding signage, which is permitted by code already. Okay. The canopy sign, as indicated here, would be illuminated, standing above the canopy addition at 92.2 square feet. Okay. This is the applicant's site plan showing. I've kind of highlighted the locations of the proposed signs. So we've really been, for the most part, we've been looking at building signs to this point. This is the, again, so north arrow here, we've got our east tower with the 2 future locations. What's not on this plan would be directly below that would be the smaller JP Morgan sign. And then on the west tower, we have the existing Chase sign, 2 future signs, a canopy address sign, the existing UBS, and then the west-facing future sign. Okay. Also of note on this plan, and I'd like to kind of take these 2 different types of signs one at a time. We'll come back to this. There is an existing site sign here. It's a ground marquee, and they're also proposing a slightly smaller. So they're proposing to update this sign and then have a matching but slightly smaller sign over here off of Hosbrook. Okay. This is the ground sign that's proposed for Montgomery Road. Note that this new sign is proposed to be 18 feet tall and 18 feet wide. That is 144 square feet. Yeah, this is just a detail of that sign again. Okay. And then the Hosbrook sign is slightly smaller. That is 13 feet by 7.5 feet wide. So that's 97.5 square feet. Okay. Let me go back to the site plan here. So this would be the Montgomery Road sign would be replacing an existing sign going back on the same general location. The Hosbrook sign would have to go in between this access way and the street here. Originally, this was submitted with the sign being in the right of way. I believe the applicant revised that plan. Sorry, I hope I don't give anybody vertigo here. They did revise that to, oh, come on. Where are we at? Sorry. There we go. They did revise that to pull that back onto the property line. However, there's about a 10-foot setback between this garage structure here and the road right of way. If this is 7.5 feet wide, we're looking at approximately a maximum setback of 2.5 feet. Although I doubt that sign is going to come up and touch the building. So I'm estimating about a 2-foot setback from the right of way. And we can get clarification from the applicant on that. There we go. All right, so again, Montgomery Road sign. It'll load the Hosbrook sign at 97.5 square feet. Okay. All right, so in 1986, the PUD and zone change for this site was approved. The condition on signage at that time was just that the building signage would be subject to the current zoning resolution at the time, which is actually the Hamilton County regional zoning resolution. When we took over our own zoning in 2000, we essentially copy and pasted or adopted their code for our first. So there was that transition there. There has been some additional zoning cases on this matter. I believe there was a first change to the plan in 2006. I'm sorry, 2004, followed up by the 2009-13 major adjustment, which is the one that's pertinent to our case for building signage. So this is currently what they're operating. And this was approved by the Board of Trustees, these conditions. The maximum area of any single sign shall not exceed 116 square feet. That's because the Chase sign was already there, and that was the maximum that they were setting. That a maximum of 265 square feet of total sign surface area would be permitted for the entire development. That's the West and East Towers. A maximum of 4 building signs be permitted. So at the time, we were looking at Chase, JP Morgan, UBS, and then that clear channel sign. And then no building signs be located on the south side of either tower. Again, that would be facing towards residential. Not very effective for the site. So, okay. If I look at this proposal against our existing code, in the O or O office districts, there is the maximum height of the sign can be 6 feet. However, you can have 1 additional foot of height for every 5 feet further back from the building setback that you have. So if you're at 10 feet, you can have 6. If you're at 15 feet, you can have 7, and so on. Again, the freestanding signs for this proposal are 13 and 18 feet tall, with Hosbrook Road sign being 2 feet from the right of way, and the Montgomery Road sign being approximately 8 feet away from the right of way, but in a place that was previously approved. Okay, I just touched on this. Minimum setback shall be 10 feet. Okay, freestanding signs. Office uses with at least 100 feet of road frontage shall be permitted 1 freestanding sign not to exceed 64 square feet of sign surface. Office uses located on a corner lot shall have a second freestanding sign at a second point of ingress egress not to exceed 24 square feet in sign surface area. Now, this site is technically not a corner lot, but because the frontage or the corner of Montgomery and Hosbrook was developed independently of this site, there are still access points to either side. So you could certainly justify using that language to justify a second sign. And then an office park containing 3 or more buildings shall be permitted 1 joint. Let's see. I apologize. That's not. Yeah, I did include that just because I was trying to show as we gain more intensity on our office park sites, we are allowing for increases in square footage. Okay. All right. So building signs. Our code allows for 2 signs per building. If so, in our office developments, there can be 2 building signs if you have enough frontage. So for every 1 foot of frontage that you have, you get half of a square foot. Okay, so at 509 feet of frontage, if we were doing this calculation, theoretically, you could have 250 I'm sorry, 254.5 square feet of signage, except we have a maximum cap of 150 square feet per building or structure. Now, in the past, the trustees have looked at this building, and though it's combined, we've looked at the two towers separately. So you could interpret our code to allow for to allow to treat these two towers as separate structures, and that would be fine. This is just a quick estimated calculation of the existing signage. 116 square feet for Chase, 56.2 for the applicant. I'm estimating low here, and then estimating high with the 16.67 for JP Morgan. Okay. So I'm very conflicted with this one. I understand the need for additional signage. I know that we're probably going to be seeing more laser requests. And signage is certainly always an issue with new developments. This current pandemic situation that we're in is changing the office space environment. But the question is how much should we give away, with each one of these requests? I do believe that the building signage is quite excessive on this site. An additional 500 square feet of signage on this building, and we would be not quite there, but pushing 800 square feet of signage on this one or two buildings, however you want to look at that. Additionally, while I know that there's a need for site signage and wayfinding, at the street level, 18 feet is quite excessive, especially when you're looking at the design of these signs. The actual tenant, the tenant signage is on the bottom third of the sign. This is quite the monolith to have at two entrance feature or at two entry points, with relatively little actual advertising on it. So if I have to make a black and white recommendation tonight, I would actually recommend you either deny or table this. But if based on the presentation of the applicant and future further discussion with the applicant, if the commission decides to approve something tonight, I submit the following conditions for consideration. The first four are going to be in line with the last major adjustment that was approved. So the maximum area of any single sign shall not exceed 116 square feet. A maximum of 350 square feet of total sign surface area be permitted for the entire development. I originally was going to use 300 square feet here because 150 per building. But since we're already pushing 280 square feet, I did allow for an increase in that for the fourth sign. That a maximum of 4 building signs be permitted, and that no building signs be located on the south side of the building. I further went on. I don't have a huge issue with the street number being on the canopy of the building. It's really more of an architectural feature, and not advertising for any one commercial entity. So number 5, building address signage on canopy shall be permitted as proposed. And then number 6, site signage shall be permitted at a maximum height as prescribed by the Sycamore Township zoning resolution, provided that a clear site triangle is maintained and line of sight is preserved by both township and county standards. And what I mean by that, we've talked about this in other cases. the Sycamore Township zoning resolution requires that there be a basically an isosceles triangle that's from any entrance point that is basically 20 feet back in the development, and or excuse me, from the right of way, you would go 20 feet back into the development and 20 feet along the roadway, and then kind of draw that triangle. And anything that's in there would not be permitted, so as not to obscure, good traffic movement. Additionally, the county engineer's office has an entirely different formula for how they determine line of sight. That's a little shallower, but a lot longer down the roadway, and that the length of that triangle extends out further based on the speed of the street. So with this being a county road and the very close proximity to the right of way, I would want this to be redesigned so as not to impact either line of sight triangle. And the applicant would need to provide dimensions for that. And that's all I have. So I'm expecting questions tonight. I know this was a lot.
I have one, Skylar, if I can just kind of try and net this out a little bit. The existing frontage is 509 feet. They're entitled to a half a square foot of building sign for every foot of frontage, which would be 254 square feet. If we considered it as two separate buildings, that would be back to the 509 square feet of building signage. However, there's a cap on building signage of 150 square feet per structure. So that would really, by that definition, it would cap the building signs at 300 square feet. Have I played that out right?
You have.
Okay, so instead of that square footage of 300, with the existing square footage and their request for 500 new square footage, we're at about 788 square footage of building sign, correct?
You got it in one. Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me go to the road signs. Do you see an issue with the sight lines on the placement of the sign on Hosbrook?
Well, I do, and I guess I should have. I was trying to explain that. I think it's going to, without having dimensions on that sign, it's hard to determine. But I think it's pretty obvious that particular sign is going to violate the clear sight triangle that's prescribed in the Sycamore Township zoning resolution. It may or may not impact the county clear sight triangle. Again, it's two different standards. I would say, even though I should be biased for the township standard, the county site triangle is really based on road speed and really takes a better measurement of site specific issues. So it's a very shallow but also very long triangle along the right of way.
Is it more in compliance with the county than it is with the township?
It may be, yeah. I mean, it's pretty obviously in violation of the townships. Again, I'm eyeballing this without dimensions, and I don't think that plan's really to scale. But it may have to be moved down the roadway a little bit to be in compliance with county. But that would certainly be the easier standard.
Okay.
And the more site specific.
Okay. And the absolute limit on the height of the sign as I understand, is 15 feet and they're asking for 18 on the road sign.
Yeah, 13 and 18.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
It's very impressive design. I mean, artistically, my hat's off to the designer. It's just it's going to be very much a very large and wide sight barrier that I have concerns about, and it's certainly certainly going to be taller than any other ground sign that we've approved. Now there are old pole signs, pylon signs in the township.
I guess, I mean, people aren't coming to the building in a double-decker bus. And, my other thought is, maybe it's not time for this, but my other thought is, nowadays, most people find a building based on where their phone tells them to turn, versus all this signage around the building. Maybe we need to hear from the applicant as to what they're trying to accomplish with all the signage.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been a kind of a cornerstone building of the township for quite some time. A landmark, if you will. It's been a vibrant office building since the 80s, early 90s. So I'm sure they're trying to continually reinvent this and keep that keep that momentum going.
It's a beautiful building, that's for sure.
It is. I do have some concerns with, especially on Hallsborough. I'm not so much worried about the width of the Montgomery Road sign. It's going back in the same general location that the other one was. The Hosbrook sign, I think we definitely need to apply, the site triangle rules to make sure that we're not, impacting traffic safety.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Miller? Ms. Flanagan?
No, I think you explained it very well, Skylar. Thank you.
I broke my rule. I said we were going to be done in 22 minutes, so I apologize.
Mr. Roos, do you have any questions?
No.
Mr. Meese?
No, sir.
Okay. We will move on. If there is anyone here from the applicant, if you would identify yourself and give us an update on your application.
Hi, yes, my name's Andrea Ward. I'm with Holt House Wagner Signs. We are basically what Skylar said. They are attempting to rebrand, re-identify Kenwood Towers to 8044 is basically the new name for the property. Revamping what's been there. They have potential new tenants coming into the building. So basically trying to add identification to the building for those potential tenants. Anything that they can do to gain identity, since the building does set back just a little bit from Montgomery Road, to bring kind of a fresh new look to that. Absolutely willing to abide by whatever recommendations are for the Hosbrook Road side. I think that's my fault, Skylar. I apologize for the misunderstanding. Whatever we need to do to kind of work that sign in particular was kind of really just to gain some identification that, hey, there's an entrance off Hosbrook Road. So I think we do have flexibility with that. So whatever we can do with the board to kind of revamp the entire building.
And I would like to note, and Andrea brought it up, the first time that this was submitted, that sign was actually in the right of way. So, she and her team have worked to try and, bring that sign into compliance. We still need to fine tune it.
No problem.
Okay. Ms. Ward, did you have an opportunity to see the staff report that had been prepared?
I did not see that. And if I've overlooked it, I apologize.
Okay. And Mr. Miller, I think you had indicated that, at least from the copy of the staff report that I had, you had even indicated a recommendation of a greater maximum square footage tonight than was in the staff report, correct?
I did. Yeah, I originally had that at 300 square feet. At 300 square feet, the fourth sign would be about 22 square feet in total maximum. I wanted to try and balance out the application a little bit, so I will be honest, it was somewhat arbitrary, and it was supposed to be meant as a talking point for the commission tonight. I bumped that up to 350, basically to as an allotment for that fourth sign in my recommendation. I still think 5 additional signs on this would be excessive, but there have been 4 signs approved in the past. Making allowance for that, in my mind, isn't unreasonable. But again, I do have some misgivings about moving forward with the plan as is tonight. It should be noted that even though this is a laser, so in a traditional laser, the zoning commission has final say. It's treated as a PUD 1. Because this is in the SPI overlay district, and because this is there's already been a major adjustment on this, this is going to get kicked to the trustees. So, again, working with the applicant tonight, I don't know if we want to talk about tabling this or if we want to talk about conditions that could be met for approval, and then we have time between the trustee meeting and then to move it forward. I'm not sure what the commission would be comfortable doing.
Well, I think to a certain extent that depends upon the applicant as well.
Right.
If the applicant would like to table it to get some more information or to have some further discussion about it, or we can proceed with our own recommendation this evening. Ms. Ward, do you happen to know if there are any new tenants who are actually waiting to get into the building or have new signage?
Yes, I do know of one tenant that my customers mentioned. The specifics name, I'm sorry, I don't, but I do know there is one tenant.
Has there been any discussion with Chase Bank about reducing the size of their sign?
Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't know. Not to the best of my knowledge, but that might be incorrect.
Okay.
Does the proposed tenant have a preferred location for their potential sign?
Oh, I hope I'm not telling you big stories, but I thought it was near where Clear Channel, where when you mentioned Clear Channel, I wasn't aware that they were approved for that before, but possibly right there. Let's see, she is on the East Tower. She just replied and said it's on the East Tower. Yes.
Oh, okay. So that would be above it would be one of the spaces above the JP Morgan sign.
Yes.
I can bring that back up if somebody needs it.
Okay.
I have a question as far as the monument sign at Montgomery Road. How
Yes.
flexible are you with the height? I mean, is it possible to just bring it down to 15 feet? It looks like an awful high monument for not having any other information on it, to drop it 3 feet.
Yeah, I bet we can compromise with that, and I'm happy to speak with the customer. Yes, I'm sure they'll be flexible with that.
Yeah. I don't know, Steve. I think 15 is still too high, but.
Right. And
Yeah.
Skylar, was it the maximum, if there were 2 monument signs, was it the maximum change? Did the maximum change?
Don't believe so. Let me pull that up.
What's the height of the current sign out there now? It's on Montgomery Road.
10
Do we know?
foot. Yeah, it's 10.
10?
About 9 foot wide, 10 foot tall. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is that because this signage package has been part of previous PUDs and major adjustments. It's not going to line up exactly with what is what's prescribed in the code itself. There's already been allowances made in some aspects.
Okay. Ms. Meese, did you have any questions for the applicant?
No, but maybe some for Mr. Miller. So I'm sitting in the subject building right now. Our offices happen to be here. So I'm familiar with most of the items that have been discussed. I'll play my typical developer role and be sympathetic to the applicant, but it's a massive building. I can certainly understand why they're requesting more signage. As you look at the large building, it doesn't appear as it sits today to have, in my opinion, too much signage. So I can certainly understand their request for more. Skylar, I'm looking at the conditions that you put forth and matching those up to the current approval. Is it correct that really the conditions that they're operating under now, those 4 previous conditions, really you've just modified number 2 to suggest that some additional sign area, right? The other 3 are from the existing conditions.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so if they're currently at 280 square feet, you're suggesting possibly they could go to 350, so another 70 square feet of sign?
Yes, sir.
So if they have 4, that really just leaves the quote clear channel sign available?
Well, so there, that's the current approved location. We can, a condition could be to move that to the east tower.
Somewhere else, but it would have to be limited to whatever the difference is, 70 square feet or so. Okay, all right. So just again, not a recommendation or anything, just trying to understand.
Well, and I'll be the first to admit that the 350, I don't necessarily want to call it arbitrary, but it's an attempt at a reasonable size, consistent, within range of the other, the other signs on the highest point of the building. I'm not trying to. It wasn't like an average out or anything with the JP Morgan sign. The chase sign is, what I'm kind of considering is the anchor. This additional sign is more in line with what you see with UBS.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. On the monument sign, I agree. The monument sign along Kenwood Road at 18 feet to me feels a little bit tall, but as somebody who uses that entrance a lot, I could see some room for making that bigger. I agree with Mr. Friedman, maybe 15 feet is still too tall, but it doesn't appear overly tall to me as it is now. The sign on Hosbrook, that's typically the way I come in. And on the north side of that entrance, there's a fairly steep retaining wall that holds up the corner of the Cooper's Hawk building. So I know if you're coming out of our building, turning towards Hosbrook Road, going left, you've got to contend with some sight line impediments there. I would hate to think that those would be made worse by putting a sign on the right-hand side as well that kind of blocks your view from traffic in both directions. So hope if something goes there, I would hope it could either be made much smaller or located farther down the road where it doesn't cause sightline issues there. And then lastly, the 8044, I actually think that's kind of cool signage. Is the intention that it's that large so that it can be seen out at on Montgomery Road, I'm assuming?
Yes, that is correct.
Looks is that considered part of the area of signage then for us, Skylar?
No, I actually in the conditions that I put out there, I treated that as a separate entity, if you will. I believe it's number 5. I'll have to go back to my presentation notes. Yeah, item 5. So I was not adding that into the area calculation. Honestly, I was treating it more of as an architectural feature than a sign.
Gotcha. So that would not come into the 350 if 350 were the number.
Yeah.
That wasn't your thinking. Okay. Last comment for me without is I do know that the owners of the building over the past period of their recent ownership have been doing a lot to upgrade the building, lobby improvements, elevator improvements, things like that, and very aware that they're trying to rebrand the project from Towers of Kenwood to 8044. And so anyways, I understand what they're trying to do.
Tyler, I think I found the reference I was looking at for the freestanding sign and zoning regulation 13-11. It spoke about if there were 3 buildings, that the maximum height would be 8 feet. Does that play into this at all?
Well, I would use it as reference, but again, the signage that was out there was approved at 10 feet.
Mm-hmm.
As part of another PUD application. Adding a second one
Do you have any understanding of why they did that? I mean, because it seems to me that height has more to do with safety and ability to see something rather than a total signage, but somehow they had that regulation. So
yeah, so I think we have there's a couple different issues here. So if you've got an office park that has multiple buildings, you're potentially going to have, I'm trying to think of even a more traditional development, maybe something smaller like the Myers White Cooper or Sycamore Executive building. There's multiple entrance points along the same road. Okay, so instead of having one, obelisk-like sign, you can break that up over multiple entrances. Here we've got a unique situation. It's not really a corner lot, but it has frontage on 2 separate streets that are really independent of one another. Where if you had, multiple signs in a row, they would, that cumulative amount might be overwhelming. Whereas these are independent. You're not going to see both signs at the same time.
right.
So I think we can take advantage of the commission's discretion here. I don't think you're necessarily held to this. It's just a matter of having it there for reference. If I was approving a plan in my office that didn't require a PUD, that's what I would be held to.
Thank you.
Okay. If no other questions or comments, does anyone care to make a motion? Anyone?
Sure.
All right.
I move that we consider case 2021-05 LASR with the staff recommended 6 conditions.
Okay. Any second to that?
I will second it with the exception you're going to change the 300 to 350 square feet in the number 2.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Mr. Meese, did your motion include the 350?
Yeah, that was my intention.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion with regard to that motion?
Yes, is that addressing the height of the sign specifically on Montgomery Road?
You talking about the monument sign, Bill?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Number
And
6.
hospital.
So, so right now, so right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a 300 square foot. So right now, we have a item 6 would reduce that.
To 645.
Well, it would reduce what the applicant wants, but it would still be consistent with the zoning resolution.
It would. Let's see. I think it would be. I think that would. So if we were to apply zoning code, we would have a maximum height of 6 feet for each sign.
So really, right now, they have 10 feet of height on Montgomery Road?
There's 10 feet on Montgomery Road and to be determined on Hosbrook.
So it currently exceeds what the zoning code permits.
It exceeds what the zoning code permits, but it's compliant with the prior PUD approval. So it's not an illegal sign.
So in that case, with that clarification, I would revise my motion that allows them to at least keep the same height monument sign on Montgomery Road that they currently have.
And Mr. Roos.
I'll second that.
Second that with the change in item number 6.
Yes.
That the monument sign on Montgomery Road would be limited to a height of 10 feet, but that this monument sign near Hosbrook would be at the maximum height permitted by the zoning resolution.
That works for me.
Okay, and Mr. Roos as well.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Any
have a
further-
comment,
any further
Roger.
discussion?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
this all still feels a little nebulous to me. Might the applicant want to work with Skylar and come back with a more definitive plan that we could approve?
I think at this juncture, that's up to the applicant, so.
Good question. I would like, if I could, the opportunity to speak with my customer, if that would be acceptable.
Yeah, if you were willing to ask us to set this over to the next meeting, we could consider that and take a vote on that. Ms. Board?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I just want,
Sorry
if
about that.
you were to ask us to set it over to the next meeting so you could have further discussions with your client and customer and perhaps with Mr. Miller, we could consider that request for a continuance of this motion or continuance of the hearing until the next meeting. So
Okay, and the next meeting is in June, or is it the second week, Skylar, in June?
June 14th.
Okay, I was just trying to reach them too, just to make
Right.
sure. Yep, so 6/14. I think that's acceptable. I think that would give us a chance to go back, review through all of this. That might be in our best interest.
Okay.
Okay.
Based on,
Break meetings as well.
say again?
We can set up some collaboration meetings, Andrea.
Perfect, Skylar. Thank you.
But do we have a consensus that we can continue this matter until the next hearing? Everyone?
Yes.
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 Okay. Yes, Skylar.
Mr. Mees needs to rescind his motion.
I didn't hear what you said, Skylar.
Mr. Mees needs to rescind his motion.
I do whatever I need to do to rescind my motion.
Motion
Okay. I wasn't going
I
to.
figure with enough attorneys on the board, it will get done correctly.
It would have just been hanging there, so, without a vote, but, okay, this matter will be continued until the, June 14th, 2021 meeting, so. Thank you, Ms. Ward, for,
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
okay. So I guess that finishes the hearing for this evening. Skylar, do we have any, thing that trustees want to tell us?
Just that, I guess in practice, on May 4th and coming up next week, the Board of Trustees are actually they're doing a bit of a hybrid meeting. So they are actually coming to the township building, and staff is here. So we're all in person, while any applicants or members of the public are participating via Zoom, because our meeting chambers are now a Zoom room. So
Okay.
or they're live streamed. On June 1st, they are actually returning to full open meetings. It was kind of always my intent to kind of follow suit with whatever the trustees are doing. That's what our zoning boards would do. So I kind of just wanted to get a sense from this group what their comfort level is for our June meeting being in person.
Personally, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay.
Me too.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
There's still plenty of room in the building or in that room. We can socially distance and take any necessary precautions. But we're trying to move back to the good old days, I guess.
I'm vaccinated. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay. Then,
I've had the COVID. I've been vaccinated.
Well, I've had the COVID and got vaccinated.
Oh, man.
all right. Well, then I don't think we need a motion on it, but we will schedule our June meeting for in person at
Okay.
Township Administration Building.
Good enough. Thanks, Skylar. And as we said earlier, our next meeting is Monday, June the 14th at 6 p.m. Do we have any business, Skylar, other than potentially this signage?
We don't have any official applications right now, but I am actually expecting a submittal.
Okay.
So, it'll be for a PUD on an existing commercial property. The sole owner and operator wants to expand on the site with some additional accessory structures, and because of the ISR, the improvements are going to require a PUD too. So kind of similar to the DoorDash case, and not too far away from there either.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Nothing further. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Skylar. Kevin?
Have a great night, everyone.
Everybody else?
Yeah,
See you
thanks
later.
all.
Good night.
Aye.